Wxdl Ecosystem is an ecosystem as a service organization that provides services, tools, and resources to participants of local entrepreneurial ecosystems. To benefit from our services, you must become a member. As a member, we will provide you with 3 specific services. Number 1, access to a team available to you 24/7, 365. Number 2, access to software and platforms that we designed and engineered specifically for entrepreneurship. And number 3, we will help you fundraise once you're ready. If you'd like to help us grow and have a passion for entrepreneurship, you can build your own ecosystem on top of our infrastructure by becoming an ecosystem leader and a pitch studio owner. To be eligible, you must meet the following criteria. Number 1, passion for entrepreneurship. Number 2, ability to build your own advisory team. Number 3, ability to build an amazing startup community. Wxdl is an online and software-based ecosystem as a service. To learn more about our concepts, please visit www.wxdlecosys.com or www.wxdlecosys.com, or you can sign up directly on our Meet360 platform at www.meet360.org or www.meet360.org. Hi guys, my name is Shadrack and I'm the founder and CEO of Wxdl Ecosystem. Welcome to this week's Wxdl.Pod, episode number 2. In this week's episode, we're going to have an amazing conversation with a great couple of entrepreneurs, and they're really a couple. Their name are Preeti and Shadrack Kubyane. As I said, they're from South Africa. They're building an amazing company, and you're going to see we had a fun conversation with them. Very smart people. Shadrack has a ton of energy, and Preeti, she's so knowledgeable. She knows her stuff, knows her industry. They both know a lot about blockchain. They want to change things in Africa, as a whole. And again, same thing as last week, they want to change the world as well. They already have a big vision for the world, and you're going to enjoy this discussion like I enjoyed it as the host and my partner, Greg. So enjoy the discussion, enjoy the conversation that we had with them, and I'll catch you guys at the end of it. So, like we always like to do, we like to get to know the entrepreneur that we speak to. So the first question would be today is, where did you grow up and what was your interest, growing up?
Thank you kindly. Thank you so much, John. I will allow ladies first. Preeti will lean forward. Thank you kindly. Thanks,
No
John.
problem.
Thanks, John, for the question. I grew up in the Eastern Cape part of South Africa. Nelson Mandela and all the great people, they actually come from that province. We literally carry this country now. We always joke about that. But that's where all the great people, 2 black presidents that South Africa has ever had, they come from my backyard.
She's got a point.
So,
Including yourself as well.
There we go.
I come from a family business background. So my dad was into mechanic engineering, like a bush mechanic, because it's a village. So we couldn't call a service person to come and fix the car. So they had to put on their solutionist hat to find a way to fix their own car. So he commercialized on a skill because a number of young boys, when they are not good academically, there was no place for them. They were just sent home. The teachers didn't really have any program for them. So he'll gather them and teach them how to drive, how to fix cars, give them driver's license so that they can have something to sustain their families. So that was what was happening at home at the workshop. But out there, he was a woodcutter. So he would go into the mountains with the old Land Rover to get good wood and sell it to funeral houses, to butcheries, so commercially, wedding houses as well, in order to make a lot of money. So that's the kind of environment that I grew up into. And as much it was a benefit for me, because from the age of 6, when other kids are playing, I'm doing my homework in school, because when the school bell rings, I'm running after my dad to go to the office in the mountains with him instead of being out there. So from a very young age, having been from a family like that, when my mom was running the family office, the hosting of the customers and everything, and running of a big house, because there's always like 40 boys that my dad is fathering. So that's how our dinner table would look like. It would look like some event, like every evening.
Great.
Yes, and I think what she didn't mention is that she used to accompany her dad in the office in the Land Rover, which used to go up mountains like the Dakar race style. So she used to do the Dakar race, which is now in the US now. She used to do the Dakar every day. So that's another day at the office. I just want to pick that up for your benefit and your audiences. And of course, from there, she morphed into doing corporate social investment management for corporates that wanted to impact communities. You see, that's her daddy's daughter, and she just took that heart into the workplace. And from there, of course, she got to join me in management consulting. And when we 10x that one entity that we'll unpack on a bit, it's when we realize that we need to segue into blockchain. So those are the Dakar moments that she left out in that epic biography that she just had.
But how about you, Shadrack? Like, what's your background, and what was your interest like growing up on your side?
Oh yes, on my side, I think I usually make it a point to frame it in this way, that I'm a born diplomat, meaning that's all thanks to being born at the intersection of 3 provinces. I think in the States you call it states, but here we call them provinces, 3 regions that make up the 9 regions of South Africa, or the Republic. That actually used to be countries in their own right. They used to be standalone. So you can imagine this boy growing up in his childhood, 5, 7. He would wake up to go and hunt for breakfast in the one country and retract and enjoy the catch. And then he would actually in the evening, because we lived off the ground, he would go and harvest for dinner in another country, and all in one day. I'll be straddling the borderline. So that's why diplomacy, further to speaking all the 11 official languages in South Africa. So that's all thanks to being born in a rural, but a very metropolitan, diverse cultural place. And of course, I came to the big city, and in the big city, I received all these unique opportunities for studying. And that's how I ended up in corporate. And my last corporate job was with Deloitte, and segueing from Deloitte into management consulting. We did shoot out the lights in the Deloitte space. I mean, I used to have the privilege to deploy diplomacy and strategy to handhold exco teams from Deloitte and partners into the public sector, which is like another country, if not another planet. I think my former neighbor Elon Musk is trying to get people to Mars. I just had to get private sector exco members to go into the government space to do some serious business. Of course, then I left my last corporate job being Deloitte. I end up in the management consulting space. Emerging markets focus, where growth and strategy were the main thing. And that's where she came actually to join me in the cockpit. And we did some exciting things in that space. And we then got to 10x a company, or even more than that, from $500 US, selling hair extensions out of a handbag in a text bank into actually from $500 to $2 million revenue a year within 36 months. So
Wow.
when we did that, it got a bit of attention from various spheres, and that actually became our ticket into blockchain, because we realized, wait a minute, we cannot be hopping from one salon opportunity to another salon opportunity. We will need at least 10,000 lifetimes, because Africa is home to 500,000 salon businesses. So if we're going to solve salon challenges at scale and lift as we rise, or grow them simultaneously, we need a scalable solution. And that's how we hosted dinner with some IBM executives, and one thing led to the next. They gave us 2 funding tranches, and that's how we built Coronet Blockchain and co-founded the company.
Nice. So did you guys meet? Like, it's great because, you know, most of the time people say, hey, it's not a good idea to start a business with your spouse, but you guys did. So did you guys meet like in a professional environment, and then you started the first business that you 10x? Like, what was the dynamic? How did that relationship got started?
Very, very, very interesting, because I think in the US there is a Craigslist. In South Africa, one of the major Craigslist equivalent is either Gumtree or OLX. So we met on Gumtree, and we met twice on Gumtree by chance, which happens to be an e-commerce platform in its own right. And today we co-founded an e-commerce platform. So that's she calls it a meet cute story. I don't know. Yeah, that's her. Yeah. So that's how we met.
Great. And how did the interest in technology, you know, blockchain started? You talked about, you know, it was because, you know, you found some opportunities or issues in a previous business in the supply chain, and you decided to use the blockchain to go and create Coronet. How did you figure out that blockchain would be like the best technology to go about doing that?
So there's 3 main problems that most of the brands, because when we turned around the other business, when we evolved it, a lot of business in hundreds across Africa came to approach us. And further to that, we realized we need to do a due diligence that we finished in 2019. So a majority of them, 3 major problems was the quality of the product itself. In 2019, Africa sold 100 million pieces of human hair extensions. A woman would need 4 of those to create it, look similar to the one I have. So out of that, 38% were actually counterfeits. Throughout the social media, people were even taking each other to court because they are sold fake hair, but they can't prove that is the fake hair they bought from the salon, and salons can't prove to manufacturer that this is what we have bought. So we realized that was a departure point, because the reason why they have to travel to this region is the burden of trust for the product, that what I order online will arrive as what I have ordered, and they make claims around it's 100% virgin hair, it's Indian hair, and all of that. It's a very complex supply chain. So that was one problem. The second one was the sourcing. They spend about $40,000 a year to go to China, India, and all these regions to source there in person. Otherwise, whatever you order via the mail, it's not gonna be what you actually have received. And on top of that, there's at least 4 middlemen in between them because of the minimum order quantities. Large-scale manufacturers will not sell or manufacture for a customer who's not buying at least a minimum order. So because of that, a number of players in China and other places, they'll buy from manufacturers and go and sell there in the public and just mix up stuff so that they can increase their profit. So all these expenses in travel, expenses that are brought by a middleman, they added unnecessary costs to the product itself. So now a bigger audience of women in Africa can now afford it when we manage these guys. And the third one was the business systems. And we're not even talking about ERP type of systems. We are talking about just in booking system to prove that this month I had 300 customers coming to my business, and I had them next month and the other month. So this year my business was sustainable. I can prove that should I want funding. And an inventory management system that shows this is the asset value of inventory that came my way. So when I say my business is worth $1 million US, I can actually prove it. Just those two things, outside anything else. So we ventured out to realize that we can do that faster if we create a solution that can solve these kind of category problems at scale, and the blockchain technology ticked many of those boxes that we were looking to solution around.
Great. And how does the blockchain actually do it? I'm still in the process of learning, how blockchain works, but how would you describe, the how blockchain actually helps to fix those issues?
I think thanks for the great question. Much appreciated. So I think there's two components to what I'm hearing. Is firstly maybe a departure point for the benefit of Wxdl audiences. What is blockchain and how the use cases are unfolding out there in blockchain, and how Coronet is leveraging blockchain to solve this specific pain points in front of us. So I'm going to just deconstruct or give a working definition of blockchain. So it's basically a digital ledger that actually enables a variety of stakeholders in an ecosystem to be viewing the same dashboard at any given time. And because of that level of transparency and that level of accountability and that level of, think of it as a dental visit, that level of vulnerability, there's actually safety in numbers, and there's safety in cryptography that has been used to hash or to build that particular ledger. Is not one of those typical ledgers that is just digital, but is digital, encrypted, and it's got cryptography, and it functions by virtue of the part of the ledger, or rather the version of the ledger Preeti is holding is the same version of the ledger that Gregory is holding, the same version that Jean is holding. We are looking at the same dashboard. Until blockchain, there wasn't a system that democratized truth or democratized transparency or democratized access to that level. So thanks to blockchain, thanks to the white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto, who then his robust, very brief white paper led to this type of a ledger being applied to give rise to Bitcoin and a whole lot of other cryptocurrencies within the fintech landscape. However, fast forward 11 years later, there has been other use cases. What do I mean by use cases? Our identities were not ours to start with until now. The government enjoyed a monopoly in anywhere, in any country in the world, of actually centralizing the knowledge of maybe Preeti's identity. I mean, it got so creepy at some point. Sometimes the government will have more details on Preeti than me, the husband and co-founder, will actually have details on her. So just the monopoly of information, the monopoly of data, and the centralizing it by maybe, let's call them the 1% or the public sector. There was just a tension. So come blockchain, we ask questions. Wait a minute, there are actually blockchain identity models whereby what the government has on you is what you have. There's also blockchain use cases whereby when we use our vetted identity as voters, then the vote will not be rigged. So there's voter applications. There's also now supply chain use cases. I mean, we're just having a chat with one of the VCs from India leading to this discussion. And he was just saying, you know what? Counterfeit shampoo and counterfeit conditioners are a big problem in India. I go like, wow. And we got to share with him that counterfeit medicines are a big challenge in Africa. When you are actually ingesting a pill, you don't know whether you're ingesting a poisonous pill or you're ingesting what could actually cure you. What it says on the label may not be what's going into your body. So blockchain in supply chain is using what's called provenance, meaning the track and trace capabilities from source to end user and ensuring that that whole corridor is illuminated with floodlights and there's accountability at every leg of that supply chain. In the past, there was a whole lot of silos. The supply chain is working. It's getting goods from John to Gregory and from one location to another. But as to what happens in between, whether goods are switched, whether goods are kind of like maybe diluted or a whole lot of other things, those were the blind spots that consumers couldn't afford to have. Come to the Coronet blockchain solution. Preeti has already outlined certain pain points that on the consumer end, 9 million hair consumers in Africa ended up with the wrong package, ended up with a counterfeit package. That's 38%. So whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's cryptocurrencies, whether it's voting, whether it's identity of refugees or identities of everyone, or whether it's in travel, where you and I won't have to explain ourselves when you get to the airport. So purpose of your visit, but you should know, I thought that my documents reached you before I came here. No, that was not the case. Government A did not forward Preeti's documents to government B. So there was just blind spots in between. When you show up, they say, oh, so you are, let me have a look. So purpose of your visit, but you should know if we're on the same blockchain. So from impacting travel to impacting goods verification to impacting, eradicating counterfeiting, which is a significant business or losses globally. From even counterfeit parts, by the way. Counterfeit automotive parts are a major thing. If it says BMW or if it says Rolls-Royce on the package, it doesn't mean that it's Rolls-Royce inside. So that's just a variety of applications since 11 years ago. We usually say blockchain is growing up now. Blockchain has gone beyond preschool level or kindergarten. Blockchain now has to enter big school and solve big practical problems. I'm not sure if I left the component there.
No.
Thank you kindly. Thank you.
Man, I love it because all the use case that you provide actually makes me see how big this market could be, right? All these products that you could track using the blockchain is just amazing. I'm excited.
Thank you.
So just before I move on to Greg's questions, my last question before Greg would be, they say that a lot of people say that entrepreneurs are born, right? And I'm not one of them. I actually believe that entrepreneurship is a decision that you make at some point in your life. But what is your guys' take on that? Are entrepreneurs born, or is it something that you become, or is it a decision that you make at a certain point in your life? What do you guys think?
Great question. I will allow Preeti to lean forward on that.
No, definitely. So I think I share the same sentiment with you. I believe entrepreneurs are made. Like there's this slide, I'm not sure if you guys heard it. If you guys heard it, like we believe that math, science, and other subjects, you are born with it. Like some families are good in math and science, only because we were lazy, because it needed more time and more discipline to understand math. But the light was just all over the villages that, oh, no. Those guys from that house, they are big in engineering. It's like, it's in their genes. It's not. It's like what you made of it. I do believe, however, that our natural environment, they do lay a foundation. If you are born in an entrepreneurial family, you might watch mom and dad doing that or dad doing that. And it might be something that you have a front row into it as a choice to do it. And then you can grow up doing it. But a number of people are born in business families, but they're not in business. So it's what you make of it. You're not born with it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Talking about that, I want to agree with your sentiment and Preeti's sentiment and angle by saying, let's look at health tourism. I know we're talking entrepreneurship, but let's look at health tourism, and let's look at the sperm banks model around the world. What do women do? They are able to, without a blockchain, of course, anonymously, to flip through their character traits or the achievements of the sperm donor, and they go like, "Whoa, this person won 2 Nobel Prizes, and this person is actually a great sportsman. I like what I see in the menu. So I mean, I'm out of here." So that is the assumption on the part of the sperm recipient that because the gene pool says I'm just gonna shoot this, says Bill Gates on the packaging, and therefore she'll be gifted to actually give birth to the next Bill Gates or the next Jeff Bezos. But while the gene pool gives us with, through the DNA transfer and things like that, with not more than 50% chances, not more than 50%, meaning we're pretty brought up environment. The other 50% is in principles, habits, environment, decisions. Do you discern opportunities? Do you seize opportunities? Where you taught to actually live life on a front footing or on a back footing? So all those terrain realities and home environment, the neighborhood, the kind of upbringing and positioning, all of those, I wouldn't even go and argue and say it's not 50% accounting for that. It's 99%. So that's the one. And if entrepreneurs were born, the question then becomes, why is it that those that are born in entrepreneurially thriving families are actually not guaranteed a seat in the marketplace? They either have to fight for it, or they will actually be the weak link in the chain. And as they usually say, the first generation makes all the world, and then the second one grows it, but typically the third one blows it.
It's true. Amazing. So Greg, I'm gonna let you ask your questions whenever you're ready.
Yeah, man, I'm loving this conversation. There's so much that we covered already, but I just want to dig quickly into this amazing blockchain-based business that you've got going. What is your scale and growth plans for Coronet Blockchain? Where are you going to?
Thank you. The big picture, the next big thing, for difficult questions like that, I usually look to my right. So yes, I'm just gonna take a look to the right there. Yeah, you've asked a really one of those. Yeah, so I've got my backup here.
Yeah, definitely. So the technologies that are coming up with the food industrialization, one of the most key thing with it is that they have to be inclusive. It cannot be an era where the 1% continues to hog all the wealth. It's not like let's distribute wealth and go crazy. That's not what it is about. But it's about addressing inclusivities and inequalities to say when there's an opportunity, other people can actually leverage technology to compete at the same level as other people. So with that being said, that's our approach with the blockchain technology as Coronet. We are opening an opportunity for African women. We consume this thing where we are consuming and contributing to a 7 billion a year just in Africa supply chain. Why not own the thing? So one of the things we did at Coronet, we've got Coronet 48, that within 48 hours, women or anyone who wants to do it, it's just a majority is African women, can start their e-commerce business in hair. They will have their inventory, they will have their fierce branding, they will have their e-commerce platform, business registration and operating within 48 hours. Because we consume it, we are familiar with it, our 5 sisters and 10 friends already are buying it. We want to start owning the supply chain. So that's the whole thing. It's about owning the value and moving away from being consumers to being producers. Whether you are in fashion, Coronet is something that we are reapplying it for fashion supply chains, for coffee supply chains. We have a prominent figure in Ethiopia. She's starting a coffee brand. I mean, the coffee producers and the coffee farms are like down the road from her house. So she's putting together her and her neighbors, starting this proud African brand. But that trust is going to be needed to be able to trust that brand, that it is what it says it is. So we are starting all of that within using the Coronet technology. So it's about African people and people in the world owning a part of the supply chain. They are already on the consumer tail end and it's about digitizing more supply chain so that value can be retained within the African continent as a priority, a continent that we are implementing our solution into. So it's the impact and its other supply chains.
So talking about bringing the other supply chains onto the grid beyond hair, I mean, we've been hosted by the Prime Minister of Ethiopia just about a month ago, who was burdened about why is it that even though Ethiopia is resource rich, why is it that his people are poor? I mean, Ethiopia is the cattle capital of Africa, home to 57 to 60 million cattle. Ethiopia has equal number of cattle that South Africa has people. There's like the cattle population is equal to the human population of South Africa. So, but why is it that Ethiopia has not evolved beyond raw materials dependency? So, how can blockchain kind of like help to elevate Ethiopia beyond the raw material focus and maybe eliminate all those power brokers and middlemen to really benefit the Ethiopians in Ethiopia from the Ethiopian raw materials, whether in coffee or in textiles or even in leather and other byproducts of beef in that regard. So that's one, bringing the other supply chains into the fold. The West Africa wing, they have now given foreign countries some matching orders to say we no longer want to export raw cocoa to maybe Switzerland and other producers, chocolate producers. We want to become chocolate producers because that equals job creation, that equals economic value, and thriving economies are built on such visionary thinking. Along comes the blockchain to be able to lock that supply chain end to end, because if now this chocolate that we are consuming, Africa only consumes 4% of chocolate at the moment, meaning 96% of chocolate produced in the world are consumed outside Africa. But what's funny, 80% of cocoa raw materials come from Africa. So it means that the chocolate consumer is sitting outside Africa. That's why blockchain is needed from our side to ensure that the proudly made in Africa brand can receive visibility, that just because it's made in Africa doesn't mean that this chocolate is inferior or it was made in the backyard through some dodgy formulas. We can now bring visibility on the supply chain thanks to Coronet blockchain capability. So that's the next big thing for us. And of course, our Pan-African brand visibility is growing daily. Our reputation on that end is kind of like exploding. So the next big step is the road to Davos, where we want to speak and influence things on that level on behalf of Africa, not just Coronet. So we are big on being thought leaders. Talking about the road to Davos, we are only 9 years away from the milestone of the Sustainable Development Goals being realized, such as the poverty alleviation. I believe that's goal 2 and others. We have configured Coronet blockchain model strategically for social impact, meaning we fulfill 9 out of the 17 SDGs. So what that means is that the next big thing is across the next 18 months window to see 5 of those 9 SDGs implemented, measurable, and we tick those boxes and we change those lives. And of course, last but not least, we would want to continue in our current efforts with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement to ensure that this great policy that is increasing intercontinental trade by $450 billion going forward requires a joint heavy lifting, not just by the governments, but the private sector players. We're not going to bring any magic wand in that. We're just bringing blockchain to ensure that we attach wheels to that great policy so that social good can be seen in our lifetime. And thanks to blockchain at scale.
Nice.
That's we're talking such huge impact in terms of the goals. And when you talk about that, I was so excited, and I reached out to Jean very late when I picked you up on LinkedIn. One of the key reasons was it's so exciting to see South African mastery in the blockchain space. And so I wanted to latch on to you quickly. When we're talking impact, a lot of people do not understand the whole blockchain, and myself, I'm also learning. There's so much happening in fintech, insurtech, health tech, agri-tech, etc., all based on the blockchain, foundations. What would your role? What do you see your role as to uplift the South African or African knowledge base? How do you grow that? How do you make them understand blockchain? Is there anything that you're developing, academies or something like that, that kind of just gives blockchain for starter knowledge kind of thing?
That's an incredible question, and perhaps Preeti can announce for the benefit of your audiences. That's a great question as to the recent partnership that we just signed in that regard.
Yes, definitely. So recently it's on the food security for now, but we'll scale it across other supply chains as well. So the second largest university in Africa approached us to partner with us to create this proof of concept where academia works with industry to produce practical solutions on our side. So they bring in research. So there's two things we want to come out with. We want to come up with solutions that we can implement to really drive social change. But we're going to create a macro credentialing system where, one, we can accredit people that work within these supply chains with their skills. Like in the hair sector, 80% of the skills, even though they are good because they are self-taught, are not certified. So we want to be able to accredit that and give them certification for having worked in this industry for so long. In agriculture as well, the skills are informal. We want to be able to certify the industry skills. But on top of that, practical data to create those macro credentialing courses for people that want to learn blockchain, especially the implementation of it for impact for African economies. Is a component that the university is going to start blockchain in supply chain specific courses and other fields as well to offer them, because the skills deficit in Africa is a serious concern. Even ourselves, we don't have one single engineer that came from the African continent. We have to go and ask out there. Well, IBM was driving that, but they couldn't have one within the continent. We would have hoped that we have a skill that comes from here. So if we're going to participate and be at the forefront of this industrialization, we need skill here. I think it was just in the same meeting with the university where we were discussing that 6 million South Africans, just in South Africa, by 2025, their skills, they are working today, but their skills may not be relevant. Those are not blue-collar workers. Those are bankers. Those are people with degrees. So how do we create macro courses for them to upskill themselves so that they can be relevant for the 2025 future of work and the marketplace? So that is something that is on the cards. We should be making an announcement before the end of this year, but already the back end of creating that is already in action.
Absolutely. So in that process, we will be establishing an Africa First, meaning a research innovation in blockchain, spearheaded by Coronet, in order to retool and reskill Africa within the area of blockchain, while at the same time research capabilities shake hand with industry capabilities in order to materialize the Africa we want. Industry and academia really putting their differences aside in order to put Africa first and to put emerging markets first and to leverage blockchain, not just for profit, but for social good.
Beautiful. No further questions, Jay.
Perfect. So 2 amazing questions, by the way. And just to wrap up, I like to do that at the end, because then we can see, how big, the company is going to get, how big is the vision. So how would you say is what's the big global vision that you guys have for Coronet blockchain? What's that huge vision?
Very, very good question. I think early on we were touching on bringing other supply chains into the fold. But as I often do with all the tricky questions, I look to my right. Yeah.
Yes. So currently, between the US and Africa, we account for 70% consumption of the hair on the hair side. So our next move obviously would be the African American market, because it's actually 40%. We're sitting at 30, they're sitting at 40. So together we make 70. So we're really big on saying if we consume it, we want to produce it so that we can maintain the value among ourselves. So we want to drive that beyond Africa. We're not ignoring other regions as well, because already in many European regions, we're already receiving a lot of invitations to create proof of concept that side. So on the hair side, that's what we're looking into. But on the supply chains as a whole, our vision is not divorced from the vision of the global sustainable goals, the vision by 2065 that we have in Africa, and the vision now by 2035 by the Africa Continental Free Trade to uplift at least 30 people out of extreme poverty, 30 million people out of extreme poverty. So we're not going to do that by applying for aid. We have to increase trade. And if we're going to industrialize, we have to start with what we have. Yeah. And our people have got entry-level types of skills. Industries are easy to access. There's low barriers to entry, but it's time for us to really industrialize that, commercialize in what we already have, and then what others are really competing at the technical side of the 4IR. But this has to benefit our people. We can't have technologies that create poverty jobs and only the 1% that own the technology actually get to benefit. And then you get a guy like really paying someone 20 rands to travel somewhere, that guy remains with nothing, but the owners of the technology makes all the money. We want to find a way for people to win equitable within the supply chains that are there. So our profit desires are parallel to us seeing really, really incredible impact.
Yeah. So with that being said, a big question and a big response already. And I'm going to just complement that to say, from this conversation, just for the benefit of Wxdl audiences, from this conversation today, depending on when we kind of like count, but we are only 713 Saturdays away from the 1st of January 2035. So we do have a Saturday counter that keeps us young, keeps us focused, and keeps us on the edge of the seat. So why those Saturdays are important instead of saying 14 years is because, firstly, the continent of Africa, the population is going to double beyond the current 1 billion to more than 2 billion. So if Africa is already experiencing a number of deficits in taking care of its people, what happens when the population doubles? Will that be double the problems or double the opportunity? Let me single out a handful of supply chains that sit within our next big thing or our big end goal, apart from in hair, bringing in the US onto the grid with hair. But let's ask ourselves a question. In 2016, 2017, Africa imported around 80% of Africa's food demand. Now a continent that has got arable land, but is not
percentage of the global arable land, the most fertile land is in Africa.
Is here, but not being tapped into thanks to the post-colonial mindset of waiting for aid rather than stimulating trade. So those are some of the self-defeating mindsets that we've seen. But how can we lean forward to ensure that a new type of capitalism rises in Africa as Africa rises? One that is conscious capitalism, one that practices let's lift as we rise, one whereby the coffee farmers of Ethiopia should stop getting 1 penny out of $5 to $10 that is spent on a cup of coffee elsewhere in the world. That has to be the play field has to be leveled. That's our next big picture. Of course, the cocoa farms of Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast and Ghana, and of course Nigeria, are still being staffed by at times a very awkward truth are still being staffed by forced labor and sometimes child labor. The mining hubs of the DRC Congo and elsewhere are still being staffed by child miners. And why I'm mentioning that is because those supply chains, the oil and gas, the minerals, the coffee, the cocoa, and the leather, they have so many blind spots that we would need the likes of Sherlock Holmes to almost multiply themselves into a billion times to come through all the mysteries. But thankfully, we don't maybe need Sherlock Holmes. He can stay in Hollywood. We can deploy blockchain at scale for social good to lower the barriers, to put the floodlights across Africa's value chains, to make sure that the who, the when, and the how is known to us, so that Africa can know who are these boogeymen or middlemen that have been siphoning value out of Africa. If we still don't know 400 years later, maybe that's actually 400 times awkward than pre-colonialism. So that's our next big thing. How do we switch on the floodlights across other supply chains beyond hair?
Yeah. Incredible. So I applaud you guys for this business that you're building and everything, from the social. I actually heard you say getting from aid to trade. I watched a video from you that when you said that, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I like that sentence, right? So
thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much for being part of this episode number 2. It was just unbelievable having this conversation with you guys. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Greg, before we wrap up.
Nah, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I know you guys are like the blockchain media. You have the blockchain paparazzi after you all the time. So thank you for giving us this hour. We appreciate it. I think the audience is going to love this, and we're definitely going to engage with you more because, like I said, in SA, I already look at you guys as the mastery here in blockchain. And I want to feed off that as much as possible through the entire Wxdl team as well.
Fantastic.
That is brilliant. Much gratitude for your kind words. We do our best to do the heavy lifting so we can lift as we rise. So your feedback, really coming from a brother, coming from our brothers there, really encourages us at the battlefront as we continue to really co-create not just the Africa we want, but the global future that we want.
Exactly. So thank you very much for your time. It was very appreciated. I know we went over the time, but it's fine. It was so amazing. So let's keep in touch. Take care of yourself.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much. You know what they say in Hollywood, to be continued.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
All right.
This is just.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Okay. All right. Bye. All right, guys. This is it. That's the end of episode number 2 with Pretty and Shadrack Kubyane from Coronet Blockchain. I hope you enjoyed it the same way that I did. Like I said, they were unbelievable. I mean, I loved Shadrack's energy, and as I said at the beginning, Pretty, she's so knowledgeable. She's really business-like, and I like that. So, I'll see you guys next week in our next episode. Don't forget to like and leave comments if you have anything And check us out on social media, either Facebook, LinkedIn. We're very active in LinkedIn. And again, I'll see you guys next week.